Hello.
Good morning, Michael. How are
Good
you?
mo-
Business and the arts, general discussion about business, what's happening to the arts, uh, and how people can survive, or what we've learned, or anything that we want to talk about. Does that make sense?
That sounds great.
All right, good. So the the art world, the arts have suffered a lot during this COVID thing, and just look at what's happening with Facebook. People from Chicago Symphony are posting. We're doing the Zoom players, which is a lot of fun, and
Mhm.
people have seen those, but you ought to go look at Michael's page and YouTube page and enjoy some of the plays that we've been a part of. I've been a part of a couple, but so how are you dealing, or what have you learned, or what have, speaking together, what have we learned about COVID and how people in the arts can do better than we're doing?
Well, I think the most important takeaway I've kind of picked up when this started, I'm very thankful in that I grew up in theater for years and years, and a couple of years ago transitioned to doing improv comedy,
Yep.
which is all about taking stuff in the moment and adapting, and really learning how to adapt to a given situation and trying to make the best of it and try not to look at things as hindrances, but sometimes things as gifts instead. Scoot over, I got the sun on my this side,
Yeah, that's all
but
right. You look good.
you look good.
So, oh yeah,
That's really what I've
yeah,
tried to take to heart, and seeing all the ways that theaters and arts organizations are adapting and trying new things out. That's been inspiring and something I try to take with me.
what are a couple of two questions, and I should ask one at a time. But tell us a little bit about you. You mentioned you're a stand-up comedian. You and I've worked together, I think once or twice. Uh, and also, then getting back to your first comment, what are a couple of takeaways, most important takeaways that you have in this time?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit, but I started acting when I was in junior high school. The first thing I ever wanted to be as a child was a cartoon voiceover artist because our third grade teacher mentioned to our class that
Ah,
one of the biggest artists of the time, who I won't name because I feel weird naming him on a podcast, but grew up in our hometown and like went to our high school. And then I went home and I asked my parents about it. Like, oh yeah, we know it. We went to school with him. And I was like, what do you mean? You just went to school with this one man who does so many different voices for all of my favorite cartoons? And my third grade brain said, like, you like cartoons? You went to this high school. You could do that.
yeah,
And that was the goal for a while. And then in junior high school, I realized, well, if you want to be a voice actor, you should probably learn real acting first. So I started doing plays, and that did plays in high school and college, and did the rounds of community theater for 10 wonderful years, working with incredibly talented, passionate people. That was the best. I also, for a side hustle, I teach and choreograph stage combat for many community theaters in upstate Hudson Valley, New York, some in Jersey, Connecticut. That's been a fun experience in learning not only the physical act of choreographing, but also the business side of show business to a degree. Um, and then about 7 years ago, at the behest of my best friend, who is a comedian and also an actor, he pressured me to take an improv class, and I loved it because it was so much what I love about theater without a lot of the things that I didn't always care for. It was kind of just like, oh, we're gonna make up a show tonight, and who knows what the show's about, and then it'll never be done again. You called me a stand-up, and I appreciate that. I actually have done stand-up once, but I kind of fancy myself more of an improv guy because improv is a team sport, and stand-up can be rewarding and fulfilling. I just don't have the thick skin required to potentially bomb alone up there. So if I'm gonna bomb, I'll bomb arm in arm locked with my teams, and we'll all bomb together, and then drink at the bar afterwards. So, but I do want to try it more when things return to normal. Now I've been taking stock of things and be like, well, you put a lot of things off into the, yeah, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do that later. And, later, later doesn't always come. And later sometimes gets roadblocked by a lockdown for 4 months. So that's really trying to take these things to heart.
Yeah,
And then
you do it later and later, and then you get to be my age, and then it's too late. By the way, City of Angels.
oh, that's I missed that production.
Oh, that was a great one. Yeah.
That was at Curtain Call.
Yeah.
Love that place. Love that place so much. Any chance I get to see anything or work there, jump at the chance.
They're good. Yeah, I know you did some choreography there for
Yep.
fight scenes. Yeah, and we acted together.
Yeah.
In Titanic. Yes.
I had a slow period at work, and I just randomly pulled up The Blame, which is such a brilliant song in that musical. If viewers don't know Titanic the musical, look it up. It's brilliant. It is not based on the movie, like a lot of people think, because it came out at around the same time. It's more about the people who were the real life people who were on board. And it's a gorgeous score, and love it to death. And that's where James and I met.
That's right. That's right.
We had such an amazing group of people. We had such an amazing crew, as it were.
Yeah, they do a really good job. And they're struggling along with everybody.
Yeah.
They are trying to keep theater alive online like we are doing. And I'll post a link to some of the Vimeo stuff that Lou Arson is posting. So
yeah, he's been posting great stuff.
Yeah, he really has.
Lou is definitely a person I've always looked up to as far as constantly reevaluating the scope of his theater and the fundraising ideas him and his team have come up with, and just also a great guy. And his wife Jan is brilliant, is one of the best stage managers I've ever worked with, and just an angel. They both are. Just the creativity Lou has, all for the sake of his theater, and not afraid to take big risks with shows. To do a show that'll potentially not sell, but like theater people know it's a brilliant show. That's commendable, and he's great.
Yeah.
But,
and he tries and succeeds in putting on shows that every age group can be a part of. I mean, we've got their small roles, small part shows where really good actors go, and then there are large ensemble shows where I get to play, and it's fun. So anyway,
you've got great stuff coming. Your best roles are ahead of you.
Yeah, that's right.
But to answer your second question,
all one of them.
Yeah, no, we'll get you. I'll be there buying a ticket. To answer your second question, some things I have seen theaters do. I mentioned taking improv classes. I have been studying at the Magnet Theater in New York City for a number of years. Brilliant teachers who really respect the art form and the accessibility of it to students of every socioeconomic, gender, or racial background, always working to improve those ways, but really mindful of that. And what they started doing pretty much immediately after New York City went into lockdown is they've been organizing shows online, which will have an improv team on Zoom like we are, and then one person in Zoom who's not visible broadcast that to their Twitch channel. Twitch is a streaming site that is now owned by Amazon, but it's primarily used for people streaming themselves playing video games in real time. And that's become a network for other things. A couple TV shows have put shows on there. I know some small professional wrestling organizations have put stuff on there in recent years, and now a lot of comedy is being broadcast on there. From what I hear, the interface is pretty easy to use, and I know Zoom to YouTube doesn't always work, in live, but Zoom to Twitch seems to work really well.
Oh, well, I will look that up. That is something interesting. I'm trying to get a friend of mine to start a YouTube channel, and he's waffling and not quite sure he wants to do it. But so I learned a little bit about YouTube, and it's got really some interesting possibilities. But a live show would be something really cool, I think.
Yeah.
Could be a real show. It could be stand up. It could be a bunch of stuff. So thanks. I'll check that out, and we'll post the link down in our video here too. So
Great.
Yeah. What other takeaways have you done? You're more active than I am now, and so that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I think really just the main thing is persistence. I've seen a couple people online talk about being burnt out of Zoom shows. Like, I don't want to read any more plays on Zoom. There's nothing like live theater. And that's absolutely true. There's nothing like being in your seat watching a show.
Yeah.
As last week, Hamilton came out on Disney Plus, and that's so many people's takeaway. It's like, this movie is shot really well, really acted and performed, but it really is a great commercial for the show. Because it's there's so many times where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I wish I was in a theater seeing that. I wish I was in person seeing that. And nope. I mean, I joke that I sometimes prefer to do a Zoom show because I live in upstate New York, and that means I don't have to schlep down to Manhattan to do a comedy show. So that is kind of nice. And I can do it in my pajamas from this side down. That is a very nice thing to feel. And that's just me being lazy. But there's nothing like being in the room with your friends putting on a show, or in the room watching a show. But keeping, but knowing that that's not an option right now. I mean, it is an option if you're very reckless. You can't let your wants be put above other people's needs, and the need for safety and stuff like that is important. And if you're tired of doing Zoom shows, don't for a while.
Yeah.
And then start it up, when you're in the mood to read a play. That's kind of was my thinking when I started our weekly hangouts.
Yes, those are fun, and the people participating are having a good time. And I guess I haven't looked at it, but I guess we're getting some views too, which is important.
Yeah,
people are enjoying it.
So shortly after lockdown hit, I actually saw a friend of mine, a woman named Stevie, post about they want to read a play on Zoom, and a couple people responded to her thing, and then I kind of just was totally and completely inspired and jacked the idea. I was like, who wants to read? And I actually said a specific place. I said, who wants to read Midsummer Night's Dream on Zoom on this day at this time? I kind of said it more specific and honed. And maybe she had said who wants to read a play? And then a couple were like, yeah, well, I'll do it. But I think because I said this play, this day, this time, let me know, bunch of people jumped in. And it was people from all sorts of different walks in my theatrical journey, through the community theater, some people through college theater, some people through comedy who've never done a play or hadn't done a play in years. And I was like, this is so beautiful to have all these people who've never met each other, who only know me and are down to read Shakespeare for a couple hours on a Saturday. I was like, this is fun. I joked. I was like, it feels like this is what my funeral would be like, but just with way less drama than there normally would be. Somehow, I'm sure I'll have a dramatic and exciting funeral. We'll put the fun back into funerals, I always say. It's going to be a party. But that was really inspiring. And it was my first time ever casting anything, because I have been on the other side of the table once or twice as a fight choreographer, just to give input of who I think is physically capable of taking on specific roles, and who do I think I would be able to work with, and who actually can handle the stuff I have in mind. And I would give some input there, but then I would be dismissed while the adults were casting the play, and rightfully so. I was not was not at the time ready to do something like that. But then once I put out the call on Facebook for anyone to read Midsummer Night's Dream, I had people like yourself reaching out, and then had to kind of take that all in and cast a show, which I've never done. I was like, I'm still at work. So I'm still in my office job, and I'm trying to cast this play. and just trying not to look like I'm not working, but like taking like a day or two and really going through it. I was very smart in that I picked a play that I love. I love Midsummer. It's my favorite Shakespeare piece, so I'm really familiar with it. And then I had to like cast it and decide, and then I had to tell people they had smaller roles, and I was like, oh, this hurts. I don't like this, but I knew I would get them back later, because I figured we'd be in lockdown for a while and do more plays if that took off, and I would get them back at a later date. And I think for the most part, like 99% of the part, I have done that. It's actually been fun sometimes if someone is not as experienced reading a play to like kind of throw them into the lead and like let them see what they do. Or if I take someone who might have a certain body type or in real traditional theater might get cast as certain roles, to give them a different role that I know in my heart that they could act the stuffing out of. I don't know if I can swear here, so I won't. So that I know they could act the stuffing out of, but then because of the way they look or, stuff like that they're never going to get in real theater. And like, no, you be the romantic lead now. Like, be the love interest, you don't always get to do that. And seeing people just knock it out of the park week after week. And then there also is something fun to be said for like when someone will be gangbusters at a part, letting them do it, and then them proving you 110% right. So with that first production of Midsommar, I had a couple of people who had played some of the roles earlier, or people I knew were experienced with Shakespeare, but then I kind of peppered in. People were like, this is my first time reading a play, haven't done Shakespeare since like high school.
That was me. I'd never read Shakespeare before, so I take that.
And you could have fooled me because you did such a great job. And it's not easy text. It's not the most penetrable text to read sight unseen, unless you really dive in and go through it like, with a critical eye and stuff like that. So you could have fooled me. I thought you've been doing it for a while.
Well, you're too kind, but yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about comedy. A lot of people are interested in that. So if you're an aspiring stand-up comedian or an aspiring actor who wants to learn a little bit more about comedy, we already mentioned improv classes. What's another way that people could think about putting something up or putting something together? How do you put together a routine for a stand-up?
Well, I mean, based on, like I said, that one time I tried stand-up, I was very lucky in that someone at my theater school, my comedy school, The Magnet, set up an event for people who do improv comedy to try stand-up in a safe environment, free of heckling and free of like pressure, free of bombing. So I did it once, and for my bit, I wrote everything down on my phone, which is the thing comedians do now, and I basically committed it to memory, almost like I would like a monologue for an audition. And I went way under time. I was if I had like 5 minutes, I think I gave him 3, and I was like, that's my time. And my friend Perry was like, no, you still. I was like, no, I'm good. Goodbye, good night, everybody. Like I just got out while the getting out was good. The craft of stand-up from the podcast that I listen to and my friends who do it is so involved. It's just about trying stuff out and like really listening to the room, and it really just the craft of honing like a sentence down to like the words that really matter is really neat. Like, oh, don't use this word, substitute this word in, and it's the way you can punch a syllable, and that makes all the difference. It's incredible amount of care they put into it. I know I don't have the discipline for that, so I don't think I'll that'll be for me. Unless, who knows? I mean, I'll try one more time here and there. But I know one of the reasons why I got into improv comedy, like I said, mentioned before, at the behest of my best friend, Aaron Gold, who is a dear soul, and I want to get him to do one of our readings, but he's very busy, and it'll happen. He kind of made the case that improv is great for your acting because improv teaches you how to be in the moment, how to feel stuff as a character, and how to look your scene partner like in the eye and understand where the two of you are in relation to each other, your relationship. And really just listen. It taught me just so much to listen. You know, after I started doing improv, I did a couple plays here and there in community theater, and even noticing how much more I was listening to dialogue. I know when I was doing theater, sometimes I would kind of read my lines kind of like this, like a mental projection of what my lines were and what the lines of what everyone else were, and I wasn't always listening. I would try to, I try to listen here and there and try to take in the way that someone said a line to me and letting that hit me in the moment that way. And just like I was in the run of a show, and one performance day to the next, I was like, oh, they said it, my cue line so differently that I just reacted in a completely natural way. And I was like, after when I got backstage, I was like, that was pretty cool. I don't know if I would have done that before, taking improv classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, every actor should do it, even if you don't want to go into comedy. You hear about so many comedy movies nowadays, like Adam McKay movies, where so much of the dialogue is improvised. Sometimes Adam McKay improvises it and tells you what to say, tells the actors what to say, but then he will let actors have free reign for a couple minutes on camera, which is so much fun. If you know your character well enough and you know the story you're trying to tell, you can play with stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
That said, knowing how to understand when we need these lines to be said this way, because you're still an actor, you're still there to do your job at the direction of the director, at the behest of the director. I often wonder, when I was doing theater in the last couple years I was doing it, I was like, are actors artists, or actors the tools of the director and the writer? I was like, I would always wonder if actors are really just paint. I mean, we're smart paint, but it's we're paint, because the director is the artist, the light designer is the artist, the set designer, costume designer, choreographer, and we are the tools that allow them to create the art they're creating, of course, with the writer or writers of the piece. But when I started doing improv, I was like, oh, I'm just making up the piece with my friends. We are making up a play together that's never been done before and will never get done again. I was like, this is incredible. It's really pretentious, but I felt like, oh, the difference between being an artist and being art, that has hit me in a fun new way. And when I get back to acting, or, if I do more theater and stuff like that, I'll only be a better actor having lived more and had more experiences to bring to my performances, and will hopefully be a better collaborator than I ever was. Because that's what it is. Art's a collaboration. No one does a play alone. Even if you have a one-man show in the Village, there still has to be a dude who turns the lights on and turns the lights on and off. There's not, that's really taught me more about teamwork than even any team sport that I played as a kid taught me, is that it's theater. Everyone works together for the greater good of putting on this show, and people have different ideas and people have different visions, but it's a important thing is to not let your ego disrupt what you're trying to do. That's really something I try to take with me in all walks of my life.
Yeah, that's really important. That's really important, because the arts are underappreciated in that way by so many people. Those people who are in it understand that and get it, and the theater nerds are real people and care for each other. Not that sports doesn't do that, but theater does it in a very special way, and it's so inclusive.
Totally. Sports, have individual stats, which is, fine, to know how many home runs someone's hit, or, how many times you've successful passes you've completed. That's important to know. I mean, sports nerds have such weird analytical minds towards that stuff, the way that they can pick apart a game versus the way theater people can pick apart a show. I think we have more in common than we admit, and more in common than I think that we have separately. We have more similarities than differences that way. But I had a point and then it disappeared. But I think it's always funny in that, when you say the arts are underappreciated, it's it is true. People don't associate how much work goes into making a TV show, making a play, making a song, but they love them. They watch TV, they go to the movies, they listen to music. But when I hear people talk about how the arts aren't a worthwhile endeavor, or we have too many kids trying to be actors, it's okay, don't watch TV then. You still want to watch TV? Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. You want your entertainment, but you kind of chastise people who want to make a go at, making it.
Indeed.
No, that's the point. I forgot.
No, yeah. Yeah. And you have to put yourself out there. I was looking at how to do YouTube things a little bit, and if you get more and more successful, more and more people are going to criticize you, and you have to have a thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all really good things to know. I mean, the example that kind of struck me is when you get higher and higher and higher, people are going to hate you more and more. And our current administration is a good
Yeah.
indication of that.
Yeah.
Even the other side, still people are against you and let you know.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really have to build a thick skin, and I always say, like, you're never gonna make everyone happy, and if you try to make everyone happy, you're gonna be wishy-washy, trying to chase the thing that people want, and then they're not gonna want it by the time you get to make something like that.
Yeah.
You look ridiculous. You'll end up trying to clap on the 2 and 3 to try to appease everybody. Yeah, one of my favorite writers. I'm also a huge comic book nerd. One of my favorite writers, Michael Bendis, told a story at a panel. It was like, if you try to chase trends because that's what's gonna get you famous or get you published, everyone. Let's say everyone this fall loves blue. Everyone loves just this blue genre of fiction, and that's what people love. That's what I'll write, because then everyone will like me. And by the time you type up the thing and someone draws into a comic book, everyone's moved on. They want green. They want green in this ring. Like, I've got this blue thing that no one wants. Even I didn't want it. And you should only try to make the art that you yourself would like, that you would want to watch, or a song that you'd want to listen to. Because odds are people are going to like it. And even if not, you have a cool thing that you can take in and enjoy. That's for you. And, maybe no one else, but that's fine.
Good attitude.
Yeah,
and same goes in business. Your people who are going to do business with you are going to find you if you're authentic, and if you begin to have empathy with where people are and what problems they have and what problems you can solve, people will find you. Same with being an artist. If you're authentic, people are going to find you and enjoy too. So, and you're right. If nobody listens, dance like nobody's watching, and sing like nobody's listening makes sense.
And unless your stuff is terrible, which it probably isn't, you'll be so far ahead of people. There are so many people who criticize, art and theater and comedy and stuff like that, who are so scared to even try it. And the fact that you're doing it, a lot of it is just them subconsciously kicking themselves in the pants for like never trying and being too scared to get up on stage, to put ink to paper. They're resentful of you for having the gall to do it.
Yeah.
And it's you can't let it bother you, unless as long as you. The thing I tried to lead myself with is to try to the ongoing mission to leave the world a better place than I found it, or leave someone's day a better day than I found it. As long as I'm not like being an offensive tyrant in my art, then I've got nothing to worry about. I'm just trying to have fun. In college one time, I had a slam poetry phase in college, and my poems weren't great, but like I did a reading in college, and like I had a couple that like were cool, and then I had a poem that people really liked, and then I tried it again, another reading, and like a dude heckled me. I was like, okay, we're in college, like this is college. I even said like he, like, as I was walking my seat, he was like yelling stuff at me. I was like, okay, like what are we doing? Like this is like a poetry reading. Like what is this what you came here to do? Like you came here to talk tough at a poetry reading, like in the Commons? Like, come on. I just like rolled my eyes and kind of laughed about it, but I was like, okay, like this event was free. What are you doing? And he didn't even read a poem. He never read one. So he
Sure.
was just there to hate. I don't know. I can't psychoanalyze someone that I had one interaction with an uncomfortable amount of years ago, but I was just like, okay, that's how it's going to be sometimes. You know, you can only put stuff out there. And yeah, like that dude doesn't know my name. I don't know who that is. You know, I never heard of him again. So
Yeah.
you know, let stuff roll off your back. Yeah, that's all you can do.
So I think that's for people who are wanting to be a comedian or an actor or a YouTube star or something like that. The advice is just start.
Yeah.
It's going to be terrible, and it may not be terrible. And if it is, the next one's going to be better, and the next one's going to be better. So,
Absolutely. You know, I'm a big believer in, you know, even when I was doing theater and now, especially when I do improv, I don't believe in having a bad show. Like, I don't believe that show was bad. Oh, you know, I've had shows that weren't as successful, like didn't get as many laughs or whatever, that I've had teammates be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that show. It's like, no. It's only a bad show if you learn nothing from it.
yeah.
You know, that's the mistake. That's the bad show. Like, the mistake is not taking a lesson. You know, when I was doing theater, I tried to make sure I did every single project I did. I tried to learn something, even if it was I wouldn't run a rehearsal that way, or you know, I wouldn't do this with people's time. As long as I learned something, you know, that was important, and to get better with every project you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Cool.
don't be afraid to advocate for your safety or your comfort. You know, just even if you are in a rehearsal, like, I wouldn't want a rehearsal to be this way. Know that that's where you're not comfortable, and say something to the right person. You know, if you're doing a play, you probably have producers to talk to, or a liaison to the board of directors if a rehearsal isn't being run professionally. So, you know, don't just grin and bear it, you know, in that case. But, you know, be smarter than I was as a kid. And but definitely say something when you can, and look out for other people. I tell people that when I teach stage combat, especially like I teach kids, I teach them, like, you know, when you're doing a show, when you're doing a play, for depending on the rehearsal time, for like a hot couple months, like for 2 months or whatever, this is your family. You will probably see these people more than you see your family for 2 months rehearsing and performing a play. You know, depending on how big the production is, or how many weeks it is, and how much rehearsal time you need. I was like, so you're there to take care of each other, and you're not always going to agree on everything like your real family, but you know, that you have to acknowledge that. Of course, that's how I translate it when I teach stage combat into don't hit each other for real, because you have to, as someone who has been punched in the face in a play by accident, you don't want to have that conversation backstage. I was just so excited, it's opening night, my parents are here. I'm like, okay, wow, my cheek doesn't care. So, but that's just try to be mindful of that, and really in the moment appreciate and love what you're doing. You know, take a day for granted. It's got really sappy.
But that's true. What are some of the unexpected things that have happened to you on stage?
Well, like I said, opening night of production of West Side Story, that I did not choreograph. It was my first play in community theater. An actor kind of socked me in the face in the opening rumble.
Yeah.
We just got a step too close, and blam. That wasn't fun. That's never a fun talk to have. That said, I accidentally also got a step too close in a later production of a show, and I was supposed to punch someone in the tummy, and there's a sleight of hand thing you do to simulate that I kind of just got like a centimeter too close, and I tagged him, and I felt terrible. He says I didn't get him, and I probably didn't, because it was before I learned how to took some boxing lessons for a role, so I probably didn't know how to really throw a punch, I like to think, or he's just trying to make me feel better by not saying anything. So he's like, "Nah, you barely got me," and then I probably pulled back at the split second, but in my head I just demolished him. But he went on to finish the show, and for all I know, he doesn't remember it happened. I've had when I was in high school one time, there was this really cool organization upstate where I live called Clarkstown Summer Theater, and it was basically like this theater program you would do. You paid some money, and you got to do a show in one of the nearby schools with kids from theater kids from other schools in the county. So it was a great chance to meet the other theater kids in schools all around, because you couldn't see them during the year because you were in school and you were doing your plays. And it was a chance to make friends and know that, oh, there are other weird theater kids all around. This is great. And then we did a show. must have been Annie Get Your Gun. Yeah, at one point, Annie Get Your Gun, in our run of Annie Get Your Gun, because you practice for 2 months and then you have a couple weeks of a run. It was like alumni night, so like a lot of like older visiting college students who had completed the program, and other people were there. And of course, there's just a regular show, so regular audience members there. And me and this guy were like these vaudeville clowns, and we're doing this like leapfrog bit, and I was wearing these like big pants and like big like strappy suspenders, and the suspenders as I'm on stage just plop plop, pants drop. And I was just like, what has happened? And like it couldn't have happened, like you couldn't have shot it any better than like boop boop. In my mind, it's like boop boop, and like the pants hover there for a second. They don't really, but it's like boop boop boop. And I think I was wearing funny underwear, but like, and I just like panicked and like shuffled off pants around my ankles to the stage left wing, and just like hugged a stage manager, horrified of what had just happened. People thought I did it on purpose. Like, how could that? Like, my hands, like, I'm not a magician. Like, I didn't do that. And I was like, this is the worst. Yeah, that's the fun of live theaters. You don't know what's going to happen. It just happens one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard people say, like, you know, when you're doing a run of a show, the show should be the same way every night. And I don't necessarily agree. I think the show should be the best show you can give in that night, to the best of your abilities. You should question those abilities. You know, like, am I really in it? You know, is my heart in it? You know, am I physically in it? Have I been resting my voice? Have I been stretching? Stuff like that. Am I listening and stuff like that? But I don't know if it should be the same show. You know, I don't know how many people. You know, if you want to see a perfect production of a show, you'll find a video. You'll watch it there.
Yeah.
You know, you'll watch on Disney Plus. You know, whatever. But I am very curious about the theater going audience. If a small part of them isn't there to watch something go wrong. You know, like the way that people say, like, oh, people only go to NASCAR races to watch the crashes. I wonder that about the theater audience. I'm like, I wonder how many of them are like, oh, I hope something goes wrong, and learning how they adapt, you know, in the moment. And that's so. I mean, it's a sadistic fun, but it's also the fun of theater. I watched when they did Tick Tick Boom at the City Center with Lin-Manuel Miranda and Leslie Odom, and Lin's mic went out, so he had to like get a hand mic and do something. But then the next song he had to play the piano, so like the sound guy just like walked in front of Lin, started putting a new mic on him, and Leslie Odom and Karen Olivo had to improvise dialogue blocking the sound guy, and they're just talking about like if you know Tick Tick Boom, they're talking about the play Superbia, which is what Jonathan Larson was writing, and they're just buying time. And I was like, this is so cool. Like only these couple hundred people tonight at the City Center saw this happen. You know, this isn't supposed to happen. So that felt fun to watch and to see how they recovered. And Leslie Odom, of course, is good at improv because he's brilliant at everything. Yeah. Aaron held her own, but Leslie was ready to go. It was beautiful, and that's fun. You know, it's like they say about weddings. Like, don't trust a wedding where nothing goes wrong. Or like if you're at a wedding and nothing goes wrong, I'd be very worried about the relationship, about how long the marriage lasts. Yeah. I'm not married, so I couldn't speak for that. But I hear that superstition go around.
Yeah, maybe. You know, a live show is never the same, and it's because of the audience. Even if the show, you know, I did a little bit in one of the shows that I was in, and I did it the same every night. I thought I did it the same. I'm pretty sure. But one night it got a laugh, and I couldn't figure out what I did different. And the guy, I know who did it, and he said it just struck me funny. So, and that's right. The audience makes a big difference in live theater. It's a part of the show.
Absolutely, and like, I feed off that audience's energy in such a big way. Like I'm when I'm on stage, I can jump higher than I could ever jump, and sing louder and sing higher. And there's also, like, if you get into the study of group dynamics of how people behave as a unit versus individually, you know, like an individual has so much more freedom when they're part of a group. There's kind of the anonymity of being part of a group to do things that they might not do. And in an audience, if like one person like has a big laugh and they laugh, that gives the audience other people who might not have laughed at something, psychological permission to laugh.
Yeah.
And it's contagious, and it's fascinating. When I watch your show, when I like it. If it's a comedy show, I have a big laugh. When I'm there, and I like to show my appreciation. Sometimes can't help it. That's a great thing to be. I don't try to hide it. I love to laugh, and I want you to know that I appreciate what you're doing and the stuff you're working on. And if I'm, depending on the type of show, not a theater show, but if I'm at a comedy show, in a smaller, in a bar or something, I might, if there's no one sitting in front of me, I might slap the chair in front of me, or I might say, if something's really funny, I'll grab the chair and crash it down, or I've been known to get up and try to leave, take a step to leave. In the moment, I just love when I'm watching so much, and I worry that people think I'm trying to pull focus. I'm not. I'm just genuinely reacting to what I'm seeing, and I don't want to hold back, because I wouldn't want anyone to hold back their reaction for me. I know that much. I want, good or bad,
Yeah. So if you had a magic wand, what would you change about the situation we're in now? And what would you change about the situation when it's more normal?
Obviously, I'd get rid of that virus. That's the first thing to go. They'd definitely get rid of the virus. To absolutely create an environment where people can see theater and can perform on stage with each other again. That's for sure. That's easy. The thing I would keep, I really would keep this entrepreneurial spirit. I would keep the idea of people to constantly reinvent and not get complacent, to come up with new performance methods. My theater, the Magnet Theater, has been putting shows, like I said, on Twitch. And because the Magnet building can only fit 70 some odd people, that's how many that can fit. But then we've done shows on the internet for a couple hundred people. That's more people that have seen the show. And we put the shows online, they're free, but we include a donation link to the theater or other charities and stuff. And, people, I don't have the numbers in front of me because I'm not on the business side of that one. But I think, it's been doing okay. But the chance to have more people see it than a physical building can contain. Like I said, they put Hamilton at Disney Plus, and literally millions of people got to see it. And, only a couple hundred can see it at a time in a theater on a tour. It's, and what you do with that exposure, what you do with that, that's important. The follow through, you got, maybe you have a couple hundred people seeing your show. Now what do? That when stuff reopens, try to maybe keep that going, for people who don't live in your city, maybe do the occasional online show, here and there. But that could just be me being lazy because I don't want to get out of my pajamas and don't want to schlep to Manhattan. Maybe that's still in me. I don't know. But it couldn't hurt, if the technology is there, if, to try and diversify your output. There's a lot of big buzzwords there.
Yeah, and the word monetize. You had a good way to put it. You asked for a donation.
Yeah.
I know the theaters are struggling. One of our favorites, Goodspeed, is trying to. Goodspeed Theater here in Connecticut is an equity theater, but they do wonderful Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And struggling how to stay afloat. Asking for a donation. I wonder what other ways we could monetize or help theaters survive during this time.
It's tough, trying to maybe, if someone who's made it has roots in your theater, maybe sell virtual tickets to an interview with them. Many community, many famous actors got their start in community theater or have roots there, and maybe they would do an event, especially from home. So if I could talk about how I cut my teeth at this theater, from the luxury of my house, and help that theater out, that's something to do. Of course, I should have mentioned when I talked about things I would change in the theater world, I would always stress making sure the theater world is accessible to everybody as possible. Making sure that your theater is wheelchair accessible, making sure that your theater can accommodate people who are hard of hearing, making sure that the plays you put on feature a wide variety of racial backgrounds and tackle issues and stuff like that. And that's another thing I would definitely drain the magic wand's batteries of making sure that theater only works when everybody's can play. Good theater everywhere is good for theater everywhere, and it makes theater better when you include as many people as possible. As someone who does improv comedy, there are so many teams of just white dudes, and all their scenes are about white dude stuff. And like, I'm a white dude, and I get it. But when you have a team that's made up of all sorts of different people, your scenes have so much potential to speak to so many different experiences, and that is exactly the same issue that theater can always re-examine and try to work on and be better with. Because it's you don't want to just do the same, plays by like the same people over and over again. You want to see what else is out there and see what else you can break ground on and have fun with, and invite people. I just believe it's so much more fun when there's so many more people involved. I don't want it to be like a secret club. It's not. I tell at my office, at my job, and my family, I'm like, do a play. Like, just try a play. I was like, just try it. It's like, it's not, like, just audition and do it. Just, you're like, dude, like, I'll be like at work and be like, you're so funny. Just do a play. Like, try. I understand people have stage fright and that is terrifying. But I just think if people saw how cool the community is and how much fun and inclusive it can be, we'll all be better for it.
Yeah. Just start. Just do it.
Yeah, just start.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, look at what you haven't had a chance to do in these past X amount of months. And all those, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to write that song. I'm going to shoot a movie. Just do it. I mean, if you have the means, of course. If you haven't been financially impacted by stuff. But, just try. You have nothing to lose by trying. No one's, you're not going to get, no one's, people are can be very quick to judge, but they're also very quick to like forget stuff. Like, people are very quick to move on to the next thing. So I try to tell myself that, like, even if people, if I don't do a good job in a show, people are going to forget. People aren't going to spend as much time criticizing me as I'm going to spend criticizing me, because they're going to find something else in like 4 seconds. We have these fruit fly attention spans that they'll just find something else to nitpick. Unless you do something tyrannically and offensive, but you won't. Like, you won't. But don't try it. But it's just have fun. Life's too short not to have any what if questions.
For sure.
No.
Not to. Well, I was in a show once where I was just terrible. I couldn't. It was dance moves. I could not do them. I don't know why they didn't fire me. Well, because I volunteered, but it was a show that I will always remember, and with some love, and it taught me good lessons. So
and it's fun to challenge yourself to try something new. Like, I one time was cast as a featured dancer in a play, and I was like, no, you've made a mistake. And no, they're like, no, they wanted me to try it. They wanted me to try something new, and like, it was sink or swim. And was I amazing in rehearsals? No. And but I mean, I haven't watched it because I can never watch my own work. But I think I got stuff. I think I did okay. I feel like someone would have told me at some point. I like to think they weren't protecting my ego and would have mentioned, like, ooh, what are you doing? But
and the adrenaline kicks in. I mean, it makes a difference. It really helps.
It's so wild to me. Like, I try not to take for granted, like, even if I'm at work or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I have a show tonight, and people are like, wow, like, that's crazy that you have something like else to do. So many people just go home after work and just put TV on and then go to sleep or whatever, which is fine. Like, I'm not judging, but it's like, oh, I have a thing that I work on. Or people get saddled with real life stuff, kids, which are amazing and constant source of entertainment and lessons in and of themselves. So I'm like, this is a cool thing. Like, these are cool things I get to do, and cool communities I've surrounded myself with. And I try not to take that for granted. But of course, at the same time, encourage anyone. Like, I've, in one of our Zoom readings, I can't remember if it was one that you were there for. I don't think so. There was a guy from my office who, like, did a play in college, and he's very funny. And I was like, I'm going to switch our day. We usually do them Saturday. We do it Sunday. That's your day off. You're going to read this play with me. And he was like kind of nervous going in. And then he did great. because the vibe we created was fun and casual
Yeah.
and laid back, and he was good, and he was good and knows his stuff. So it's like, and I knew he would be. So that's yeah, that's definitely a thing I'm taking with me out of this period. Is like, oh, my friends are like, I try to remember that, but like my friends are so talented. My friends are talented and so cool and so welcoming to like each other and people who maybe haven't done as much theater. That's good on you. Good on you, gang.
Exactly. Let's go back just for a minute, a little ways, and talk about stage fright. It is
Yes,
scary, but how do
it
you
is
get over
terrifying.
it? Yeah.
How do I get over it?
How does one get over it?
How does one get over it?
But how does one get over it?
I guess the way I get over it, just a couple big, deep cleansing breaths right before I get out there. Depending on the show, I kind of learn show to show what things I can do. I remember the first time I got a lead in a community theater show, which was actually my first lead in a musical. And because that's all I'd ever wanted was a lead in a musical. I want to be the guy in the middle that people are singing and dancing around. God help me. I want that. And I got it. And I didn't come on for a couple. I mean, debatable if I was a lead. Depending on song count, I would contest I was the lead, but there are romantic, whatever. There are, whatever. So there was a couple songs that went on before I came on, and like one song that introduced me, and I would like sing those backstage, like just and to warm up vocally to make sure that people on stage had enough volume to carry the sound, to balance the baritones and tenor stuff, do all that work, but also to like shake that energy out of me, like, and sometimes I hop around a little bit and just like acknowledge my feelings, acknowledge I'm nervous. What you're doing is crazy. Most people would not want to do this. You're going to get out there and you're going to sing for people. Like, people don't even like talking in front of people. You're going to put yourself out there and sing. That's such a vulnerable thing. But to acknowledge that, not to say like, I'm not scared of that. They'll be like, no, I'm scared of that. But now what am I going to do with it? You have to do it.
Yeah.
We'll let a bunch of people down if you get scared and leave the building, and then ruin the show and no one will work with you. And rightfully so, if you, unless you weren't feeling well, if you just got scared, you should have probably thought of that before you did it. But yeah, so it's really just getting out there and doing it, being aware, like especially in theater, you're probably not going to see the audience depending on the house because the way stage lights do what they do. So you'll hear them, if they're there, you'll hear them applaud or hear them laugh or whatever. But like they're not, you don't see them. So unless your friends tell you they're coming, which it's always a blessing and a curse for me. I'm like, oh, my friends are here. Okay, I gotta do really good, but oh crap, no, my friends are here. So I would be really excited my friends were there on a given night, but then get really nervous that I was gonna mess up and not impress them. So just sit with those feelings, and then you gotta fly. You gotta do it, and trust in the people around you, like on stage with you, that want you to do well and are counting on you, and you're counting on them, and you want them to do well. In improv comedy, we say this thing before we go on stage, which is like, I'll like look a scene part, I'll look someone in the eye as we're in the backstage area, be like, I got your back. And maybe we'll do like a back, like I'll tap someone's shoulder, like, I got your back. And we'll go around like, I got your back, I got your back. And I've taken that with me to the few plays that I've done, because that's like a really, really nice thing to like let someone know, like, I'm with you. Like, we're in this together. Like, I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to steal the show. I've done plays where I've had friends see them, and then after we meet, after I get out of class or whatever, they'll tell me like, you were like my favorite part of the show, or the dreaded, you were the only part of the show I liked. And I'm like, I understand that you mean that as a compliment, but I want you to enjoy the whole thing. Yes. Everyone that I'm working with is working so hard, and maybe you're just saying this to make me feel better, but I that's, I want the whole thing to be good. And because it's my family behind me. It's my family with me. So I always think like, I'm sure you meant that as a compliment. I'm sure you're trying to make me feel real good, but maybe I'm just too much of a team player. I wish I could be the kind of person to be like, yeah, I am the best part of this thing. Like, what are these guys even doing? And I cannot think that highly of my own abilities. I can think a thing I did was good, and that's the best I've ever done it. But I don't have that in me. Thank God to assume that I'm the best part of a show, or the only good part of a show. Ugh, I hate even saying that. But yep, another point vanished because I rambled again. It's fine. It's gonna happen.
It's fine. We are approaching our time at about an hour. I want
Hmm.
I have one more question.
Sure.
What's the meaning of life?
Like I said, do everything you can to leave the world a better place than you found it, or at the very least, leave someone's day better than you found them. That's all we can do.
Yep.
Put your shoulder to the wheel and try to push that wheel, an inch or two, just towards progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I solved that mystery.
Well, Michael, this has been a pleasure. I hope
James,
you've
it's been
had
an
fun.
absolute pleasure.
I had fun, and I think the people watching now or whenever we get to do this,
Sure hope
that
so.
they'll have had fun too.
Support your local arts.
Indeed.
Not just out of not just out of for your friends who may be in the arts, but you'll feel better when you see a good play. You'll have a better weekend if you begin it or end it with a really good play. See a play that you don't know anybody in if you're not in the arts or don't have friends. If you have friends in the arts, see a play at another theater. See a play you've never heard of. See a play that's a genre outside of what you would normally see. If you only see big, silly, fun musicals, see a sad play. See a sad play. Or if you only see sad plays, watch a big, dumb musical. They all have their merits. They'll make you feel enriched. You'll make so many people's days better. A lot of people use theater to cope with everything that they're doing. Work is going really crappy, but play practice later. Yes. I can't wait for play practice or rehearsal. I call it play practice because of alliteration. People get on me like it's rehearsal. I'm like, it's practice. We are practicing. But you'll make so many people's days better, just by supporting the arts. And and bring friends, bring people. That's just see more theater.
Good way to leave. Michael, thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
day.
You as well.
And see you soon.
See you soon, James.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.